Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of My Wholesome Writing Life with me, Van Huang. So today I'm going to be talking about aphantasia. It refers to the fact that my brain cannot visualize images. It's hard to describe because people who don't have it can't really visualize the fact that somebody can't visualize something. I read in a comment somewhere that described it perfectly, which is like if you're sitting in a dark room and you're holding a ball, the room is completely pitch dark. You can feel the ball and you know how big it is and what the texture is like, if it's a metal ball or if it's a rubber ball, and you know all these things, but you just can't see it. And that's exactly what it feels like. I didn't really know that I had this issue, but when I started my writing career, I've been told a lot that my books have what's called white room syndrome, which is exactly what it sounds like, where it feels like the characters are just in a white room where nothing is really described. There's nothing around them, and I've always had trouble writing description for this reason. I've also had trouble reading description. For some reason, my brain just like takes a break whenever something is being described in a setting. Like, I don't know how my brain just knows, like, oh, they're describing setting here, we don't need to know about any of this, and it just like takes a vacation, and then somehow it knows to come back when the story picks up again and the characters are feeling things and doing things again. It just happens. I can't even explain it. Descriptions don't really matter to me on an emotional level unless they affect the character arc in some way. Like, it has to be really meaningful to the plot and to the story. But if it's just there as like background noise, I can't really process it. It's unimportant to me. But at the same time, despite having this problem and despite not caring about description, it is important in a story. It sets the stage, and the vast majority of people do need for things to be set and described. So I understand. I'm working hard at it, and I'm going to go into some things that have helped me continue to write description despite having this issue and despite my personal biases towards description. That was a really long intro, I'm sorry, but if some of you are just now having that moment that I had with where you're like, oh my gosh, I have that, suddenly the rest of my life makes sense, then go check out more on that condition. So the first solution I'm going to talk about is having pictures of your setting while you write them. Like, have the picture in front of you somewhere or have it in a document or something. This is hard if you write in a fantasy world that you completely made up. But if you're writing in like a contemporary world or historical world, then most likely you'll be able to find these pictures online. If you draw, you can draw your pictures and use that as inspiration for your description. The only thing about this that I don't like is that then I would feel like I'm locked into this description that maybe somebody else created and it doesn't feel like my own creation. So it's just a tip. Another thing that I do, I'll search out a movie with a good stage design and use that as inspiration. I also like to use art books because they're so beautiful and the scenery in them are just amazing. I found this book randomly at an art store when I was there with my friend, and it's called Everyday Scenes from a Parallel World, Background Illustrations and Scenes from Anime and Manga Worlds. I'm trying to find who the publisher is. I think it's PIE International Inc. and it's a Japanese company. Lots of anime scenes, and it's just great inspiration. It really sparks my creative imagination, and this will usually get me to think more about description, which I don't tend to naturally think about. The one last solution that I only started recently, which was looking up screenplays to mind for their description. Screenwriters can't really get away with just flubbing it like, novelists sometimes do. Sometimes they have to give instructions on how the scene is set, so they have really good description. Again, it's just used as inspiration, it's not copying. Sometimes I wonder what life would be like if I could visualize things, but at the same time, I'm happy with how I perceive the world and perceive reading, and I have never had any problems with it. This wasn't a huge issue in my life. It was just something that I discovered about myself and was like, oh wow, that's cool. Like, I have that, and I can't believe that other people are able to visualize things. So my library tip for the day is that art books can be expensive, so if you are looking for something like this, make sure you go check out your library first and see if they have anything available. My tips for the day, if you have any of your own, anything to do with writing description or discovering this condition, then let me know, and I will see you next time. Bye! Writing can be hard. I'm here to obsess over the wholesome, delightful, fulfilling practices, solutions, and tools that I love about crafting stories. I'm Van Huang, author and librarian. Join me on my journey of joyful writing.